Hello and welcome to the GameDayU Spring Game Special. I'm your host, Ashley Vandevelde, joined here today by Kaylee Tinglestad, Maddie D'Addario, and Carly Murray. Now, let's rewind. What comes to mind about the Sooners offseason? A certain coach out in Southern California, or maybe Oklahoma's new head coach, Brent Venables? He certainly arrived in Norman with a bang and is on a mission, as he said earlier this week, to make Oklahoma great. Kaylee, what are your thoughts on Coach Venables?
I'm just really excited. This is the first time that anyone's going to get to see him with a new team. OU fans, I think, are very excited. I mean, the spring game attendance is supposed to be insane. Hotels are booked all around Norman. People are traveling all over the country for this game. So I'm just really excited to see this OU fan base back in action. I think everyone was really excited about Venables, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Kaylee, I forget that Venables hasn't even coached a game here yet, and he's already a celebrity around Norman practically. So I'm excited to actually see him get in the game and coach.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that gut-wrenching defense. That's what he preached about when he first got here, that we're finally going to see some real defense, and that's what we need heading into the SEC in a couple years, so I'm super pumped to see that.
It's going to be a crazy shift from last season. I mean, the offensive mind to the defensive mind, and I think Brent Venables just has this great mindset going into it that's really going to transform OU football.
That's a great point, Kaylee. Now, Ben Thomas has Coach Venables' path to the Palace right here.
After a week of anger, frustration, and disappointment, Sooner fans finally had a reason to celebrate. Fans gathered at Max Westheimer Airport Sunday night to welcome the new head coach Brent Venables to Norman. Sooner fans were pleased with the hire, as the Sooners' former defensive coordinator will return to the sideline.
I think Venables is going to be great for our program. I mean, he's a defensively minded coach, and, if you look at the past couple of years, our team has had sort of problems with our defense, and I feel like, he's done a great job at Clemson. I think he can do a great job here at OU, maybe bring us a national championship.
Arriving around 9:45 p.m., Venables and his 3 national championship rings stepped off the jet and was greeted by the pride, cheer squad, and hundreds of Sooner fans.
To have the opportunity to the first time I get to lead a program at Oklahoma, are you kidding me? It doesn't get any better than this. It really doesn't.
The past is now the future, as Venables is tasked with growing the program and help transition OU to the SEC. Fans are excited, as they believe Venables is the right guy to do that.
I hope he brings us the toughness we need, the defensive mind, just where we need to be out of the SEC, because we were not going to be there under Lincoln. Lincoln did not play a tough team. We weren't going to succeed there with him.
With Lincoln Riley in the rearview mirror, there is lots of excitement surrounding Brent Venables and the new era of Sooner football. And we got a taste of that excitement Sunday night. Ben Thomas, OU Nightly.
I'm excited to see Coach Venables take the field this weekend. With that being said, Kaylee, what are you going to be watching for this spring game?
I'm really excited about seeing Gabriel take the field. I mean, last year with OU, there was all that quarterback controversy with Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler, and we threw Gabriel in there, and I'm excited to see what he has. I mean, players have already been singing the praises of Gabriel, and that's really good to hear. I mean, I know there was some issues amongst the football team last year, but everyone seems excited about Gabriel. And I mean, last year he had 9 touchdowns for 814 yards, and that was coming off an injury. Now he's back and he's healthy. And he's back with his star offensive coordinator with Jeff Lebby. They worked together at UCF and had a great season, and that was when Gabriel was just young, unexperienced. 3 years later, I mean, he's going to be dominant. I'm excited to see what he's going to have.
Kaylee, I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people are going to be going to this game to see Gabriel, a brand new quarterback. We had so much quarterback drama last year, so I'm excited to see what this new QB1 can do. For me, another thing that I want to watch for is the quarterback connection with his receivers and his running backs. That is so important on this offense, and in years past, we've had people like Caleb Williams and Jaden Hazelwood with a connection, Spencer Rattler, Marvin Mims, Baker Mayfield, CeeDee Lamb, so on. And I'm really excited to see who Gabriel is going to connect with. I think that there are so many options. I'm really excited to see how him and Marvin Mims specifically play together. I think that Marvin is coming into being so much like CeeDee Lamb. I know we compare him to him all the time, but I'm really excited to see that connection specifically between Marvin Mims and Gabriel, because I think it's going to be a great one.
Well, I'm going to go with the other offensive weapons, and I'm going to go with the running backs. We have the phenomenal Eric Gray, and this running back class is super deep with Eric Gray, Marcus Major, Todd Hudson, Jaden Knowles, and the freshman that I'm super excited about is Javonte Barnes. I think Javonte Barnes will end up being that number 2 guy because Marcus Major has had an undisclosed injury for this spring season. He hasn't been at practice for the last couple weeks, so I think that will give Javonte Barnes that easy way in to be that number 2 guy. The Sooners have really high expectations of him. DeMarco Murray has talked very highly of him, but I'll talk about that more a little bit later.
I love you focusing on that depth, Carly, because losing Kennedy Brooks, that star running back last year, it's going to be interesting to see these new players step up, and it's nice to have that depth in that position.
That's a great point, Kaylee, but offense. You guys, you know what Brent Venables is known for, and it's his defense, which is why I'm excited to watch the defensive line on Saturday. Venables, he's known for getting to the quarterback, creating havoc, and Nick Bonito and Perion Winfrey are gone now, but Brent Venables, like I said, he loves that defense. He locked in and reloaded this offseason. Jalen Redmond, Reggie Grimes, Marcus Stripling, Jordan Kelly, Josh Ellison, and Ethan Downs, who's only a sophomore, and he's been looking great this offseason in the spring. They're all returning, and there's freshmen and transfers coming in. It's going to be fun to see how this defensive line comes to ball on Saturday, so it's one of the head coach's specialties.
I think I just really trust Coach Venables with our defense, and that's why it wasn't my focus. I feel like the defense is something not a lot of people have talked about with the Sooners yet, and I don't know if it's because we are just so focused on a new quarterback or what, but I have good thoughts for this defense, and I trust Venables with it.
New QB in town, new leader of the squad. Reese Wetzel has what you need to know on QB1.
Sooner Nation is gearing up this weekend for the football spring game. The fans are excited about the changes that new head coach Brent Venables brings to the program. There is also a lot of buzz about UCF transfer and now starting quarterback for the Sooners, Dillon Gabriel.
Kind of being on the back end of spring ball, man, I'm super grateful to be here. I love this place. I love the people I'm around. And then something I always, think about is I love what I do, where I do it, and who I do it with. So whenever that aligns, man, I'm grateful. And, to run out in front of Sooner Nation, that'll be super fun.
Being QB1 at Oklahoma requires not only athletic skills, but also leadership skills. Gabriel has continued to work on his leadership qualities for the team.
The biggest thing is having the belief, from those guys in me, and then likewise, belief in those guys with me. So I think the leadership position is the quarterback position because you touch the ball every single play.
It is also important for Gabriel to build relationship with his teammates off the field. He has made it a priority to hang out outside of the gridiron.
I love being around guys that love ball, and they love football. So, man, if it's going out to eat, that's fun to me. If it's coming over, watching some film, or just, chopping it up, man, I love the guys we have on our team, and I'm really great friends with a lot of them. So,
if there's one thing Coach Venables is known for, it's his energy. He makes sure he is just involved in workouts as his players.
Stretches, push-ups, he's doing everything. I think it means a lot more because he's with us. He's doing it with us actively. So whenever you have that, it's new to me, but you just feel, more connected.
The spring game is expected to have a massive turnout. Sooner Nation is ready to show up and show out for their new team. Reporting from Norman, Oklahoma, Reese Wetzel, OU Nightly.
New staff, new players. Kaylee, who is your biggest addition to the Sooners football program?
So I know we've talked about the offense a lot already, but how can you not with offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby? This man is amazing. I think this is a great key for OU, especially having that defensive mind with Brent Venables. Having this star offensive coordinator will just be a key because we have the new Dillon Gabriel and you have all those other offensive weapons that need to be focused on. I would say he's arguably the best offensive coordinator in college football. He creates an explosive and highly productive offense, and he had great success at UCF with Dillon Gabriel and at Ole Miss. Last year at Ole Miss, Lebby's offense had 56 touchdowns, and Ole Miss finished with a 10-3 record. He turned Matt Corral into one of the best quarterbacks in college football, so I think him working with Dillon Gabriel again will be great for OU.
I completely agree. And Kaylee, I think it's so hard to pick a new addition. Everyone, I think we all had a hard time picking who our addition would be. But something I think a lot of people don't think about is the conditioning behind a team. And so for me, I think that the biggest addition is Jerry Schmidt, better known as Schmitty if you're an OU fan. He is our new-ish strength and conditioning coach because Jerry Schmidt has been at OU before, he has been a Sooner before, and he sees how this program works. And for me, last year, one of the biggest issues with this OU team was that they felt under-conditioned. And Jerry Schmidt, he is a hard guy. He is not going to let that happen this year. And on top of that, he's been here. He's conditioned for this team, and he knows how it works. He's conditioned Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Sam Bradford. I mean, what more could you want from someone who already knows how a program works and is a very tough guy? We have seen him at these spring practices. We have seen him working with these guys, and I'm really excited to see how these guys come out strong and very well conditioned.
You can't think of Schmitty without thinking about messing with Schmitty. In the summertime, that's what I was thinking of the whole time that she was talking. But my biggest addition has to be our new head coach, Brent Venables. He's coached in 8 national championships. He knows what it's like to have a gut-wrenching defense, and that's what I'm so excited to see. He's also never been a part of a team that's had a losing record. I mean, even when he was a grad assistant at Kansas State, he helped Clemson to 4 berths and 2 titles. Over the last 10 years, the Tigers ranked first nationally in sacks and opponent third down conversion percentage, and each of the last 8 Clemson defenses have ranked in the top 15 nationally in yards allowed, and 7 of the last 8 have ranked in the top 20 in points allowed. This defense is going to be really great. I'm really looking forward to see what Venables has done. I mean, he's already done a lot here as a head coach. He created that soul program, and he really cares about his team. He really cares about his players. He says that he wants his program to be relational, not transactional.
I completely agree with that, and I think that's one of the main reasons I'm so excited to see him. I think that's something that this team has really been needing, and when I heard that that's how he was taking this, I could not have been more excited.
Yeah, he's definitely invested. That's the big key with this. It's more about football. It's more than just about football.
Definitely. So you guys all picked coaches. I'm going to go again with the defense. I'm going to pick Jonah Laulu, who is a transfer from Hawaii. Again, going to be on that defensive line. But over 3 seasons, he had 70 career tackles, 19 for loss, and 8 sacks at Hawaii. Last season was his best year, tallying 33 tackles, 4 sacks, and a fumble recovery. He's a big, heavy-handed guy who has the potential to add a lot to this defense, especially on the edge. So I think that, he's one of the best transfers we got, a big addition. Obviously, Venables, he created all of this with the coaching staff, but he's someone that I'm really excited to take the field as a transfer in addition to this program.
Yeah, definitely a lot of shoes to fill, too, with that defensive side, so he's going to be a key player for sure.
Don't go away because we've got plenty more to come, including what we're looking for on offense and defense. Welcome back to the GameDayU Spring Special. We've talked what we're going to be watching for overall, but Kaylee, what are you going to be focused on offensively?
So I'm going to be looking at Jaleel Farouk. He's coming in as a sophomore. He had some great action at the Alamo Bowl during that game. And, he has big shoes to fill this upcoming season after the loss of Michael Woods and Jaden Hazelwood. He had good chemistry with Caleb Williams. That was evident in San Antonio. But the addition of Gabriel gives him that opportunity to really establish himself. He's going to get a lot more action this season, and I think he's really going to step it up. He's a little bit older, he's younger, but I think he's going to be a great addition. That wide receiver game, having Gabriel, I think will be important.
Completely agree. For me, I'm going to kind of take an opposite take of what we need to improve on our offense. And I think last year a lot of people were very quick to blame Spencer Rattler for a majority of the offensive issues. But for me, the biggest issue was the O-line. The O-line needs to be so much stronger. They need to be a lot more on the attack, on the offense, not the defense. And for me, they also got a lot of flags called on them. They drew a lot of flags last season, and there was just a lot of errors on the O-line. I think bringing in people like Schmitty will be a huge help for the O-line because he's going to bring more strength, more conditioning, more grit to this O-line that it so desperately needs. And obviously, Caleb Williams did a little bit better with this O-line because of his ability to get out of the backfield. However, they need a strong O-line.
I think discipline was really tough with the O-line last season. You touched on those penalties, and they happened way too often.
Yeah, I went to the press conference earlier this week, and Bill Biedenbow, spoke highly of this O-line. So I'm really excited to see what they look like. But who I'm excited to see is Javonte Barnes. Like I said earlier, this kid is a 4-star recruit out of Las Vegas, and DeMarco Murray speaks so highly of him. He's great, he's strong, he's powerful, and I think once he gets stronger and bigger and he's really starting to learn from DeMarco Murray, I think this kid can be really unstoppable. He came in January and put himself in a really great situation. He got here early, he got under DeMarco Murray's system, and I think he's going to be the one that you're going to want to watch.
I'm really excited for Javonte too. He's going to be great. Seen him out in practice a little bit, and he's just looked fantastic. But my guy that I'm ready to see back out there is Theo Wees. He got injured in this last season, so he missed the majority of it. But 2020, he had a breakout year. And he entered the transfer portal after Lincoln Riley left, but he came back to OU saying he had unfinished business. And this guy was one of the best receivers on the roster in 2020. He started all 11 games, had 37 receptions for 530 receiving yards. And those 37 receptions tied for the team lead. He totaled 4 touchdown receptions, and he's just a playmaker overall. He's definitely someone that I'm going to be watching back out on the field in the spring game, and it's going to be fun to see him back out there after, you know, a whole season without him.
Yeah, Ashley, I think that was a good call. I think a lot of people forget about Theo and all of the talent that he's had for this offense because he's been away for so long. Even I sometimes forget that he's coming back and he's going to be on the field, and I'm super excited to see him play too.
I'm just so excited that he decided to stay with the Sooners. I don't know if you guys
too.
remember, but he went to the transfer portal. Some Sooner fans were really scared that he wasn't going to come back. So I'm glad that he's happy, he's here, and he's back to stay because we really need him this season.
I love the point about unfinished business.
I know.
I'm excited to see what he'll do.
Him and Marvin Mims, I see tag teaming it. I like it. So a special relationship between coordinator and quarterback graces our offense this season. Steve Pineda has the story.
Let's go. Hey, let's go. Right, left. Ready, go. Inside. Ball. Good. Next one, let's go.
A new head coach signals the commencement of a new regime for Sooner football. A revamped, high-paced offense led by new OC Jeff Lebby.
I think the thing that is the constant is the tempo, right? We're going to play incredibly fast. We're going to push the tempo. We're going to dictate how the game is played. That's where it starts for us.
Stop!
Lebby's coming off quite the tenure with Ole Miss as his offenses have finished 3rd and 6th respectively in the past 2 seasons, as well as developing quarterback Matt Corral into a top NFL prospect. He'll hope to do the same for Dillon Gabriel.
How about that?
I love playing in his offense, the way he's able to, strategically use people and put them in good positions to go play, and win a lot of ball games while scoring a lot of points. So that's something I really love about it. But, most of all, I just love how he continues to push me to get to levels, I didn't think I had.
We'll get a glimpse of what Lebby's new dime time offense looks like right behind me at this Saturday's spring game, kicking off at 3 p.m. And I know Sooner Nation is looking forward to it. Steve Pineda, OU Nightly.
We've talked offense, so now let's flip it over to defense. Kaylee, what are you watching for defensively?
Well, this player's really going to have to step it up and be a leader for the defense this year after all those holes that were left with all those key players that are going to the draft. But I'm going to go with Danny Stutzman. He's kind of that energy for the football team. I feel like he really excites everyone and gets everyone going, and that's what the defense needs. And especially under a leader like Brent Venables, I think this is going to be really his time to shine. He has that leadership potential. He's just still pretty young, but I think he's going to be a great key for this defense. I mean, we talked about how suffocating this defense should be, and I think he's going to be able to make that happen.
I think the word energy was so perfect to describe Danny Stutzman. He has become a character of the OU football team, I feel like. And you're right, you need that type of energy, especially on this defense. They need that morale. They need that, we keep saying that suffocating defense. They need that type of energy. And so for me, my what to watch for the defense is actually the secondary. I think that the secondary was getting somewhere last season, but they didn't quite get there consistently. We had some great interceptions. We had some great tackles in the back, but they need to be consistent. I think key players like Woody Washington, Justin Broyles will bring us there for that secondary, but they need the energy to do it consistently. Sometimes I feel like the secondary can get caught watching very often when there's long balls thrown and other things like that, and we can't They cannot afford to do that this season. I think Brent Venables will make sure that that does not happen. I feel like that man does not put up with low energy defenses. So I'm super excited to see what's going to happen with the secondary under him.
Yeah, I mean, when does Brent Venables not have energy also?
Exactly.
I know, I walked right out here and I think I heard him on the loudspeaker like, punt, like, whole campus, so.
It's funny because you talked about Stutzman, and at the presser this week, Venables also talked about how he thinks Stutzman is a little bit above everybody else if you had to pick a guy. But I'm going to go with Jalen Redmond. How could you not be excited about this guy? Remember that huge play he had against Iowa State, the big fumble return? He ran 42 yards for a touchdown, making that the Sooners' first defensive touchdown for the 2021 season. Todd Bates said that he's been showing up and putting in the work. He's a really talented pass rusher, and his ability to go after the quarterback is just astonishing. He's getting a lot more comfortable with the scheme. That's what Todd Bates said. And I think that's a really good sign for the Sooners because they need him.
That thick six might have been one of the best plays of last season, I will say.
Absolutely.
It was great. To me, the defense needs to focus on eliminating errors. This is a brand new scheme under Brent Venables, and the guys have been saying all spring that it's faster, it's stronger, it's masterful, more complex. And the guys also admit that Brent Venables pushes you, but it pays off. And this is a whole new playbook. Speed D wasn't looking so great last season, so this is something completely new that the guys have to learn and get used to. So this is a chance for the players to come out and show improvement and prove that they can master a new scheme. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And they were saying all week in the press conferences that this is just like another game, a practice. Like, you don't get anything like this before fall. So this is a chance for the players to come out and show we can deal with a Brent Venables defense. So.
And I feel like they're going to come out with it so much more of a statement than they have in past years, because I think the whole team, both offense and defense, have so much more to prove this spring than they have in the past.
And they're playing against each other. I mean, that's going to be fun to watch.
Right, of course.
Have you guys seen their tweets on Twitter? They're like, oh, Red's going to win, White's going to win. Players taunting each other back and forth.
I love it.
And sophomore defensive back Billy Bowman is a man of many talents, but he may be shifting his focus singular. Ben Thomas has the story.
With lots of hype surrounding him, defensive back Billy Bowman made the most of his chances during his freshman season. But with a new head coach and scheme, Bowman has a new opportunity ahead. New head coach Brent Venables sees a lot of promise in number 5.
Billy's hungry. He's got great maturity to him, great focus. He's hard on himself, very demanding, incredibly talented, great instincts, tremendous skill set.
The 4-star defensive back out of Denton, Texas made his mark from the start, playing in 11 games for the Sooners last season. But due to injuries and his versatility, he jumped around all 3 defensive back positions. Venables sees a lot of value in Bowman, but wants him to lock down one position.
Can do a lot of things, and we're just trying to get him to be really good at one thing.
So what's that one thing? It's playing the safety position. Moving to the safety position will be challenging for Bowman, but the coaches believe he can pick it up quickly.
But, still he's young for that position. I definitely think he's going to get it just because he's putting in the time, not only on the field but off the field.
Venables and company will look to utilize Bowman's speed and athleticism on the field, and have already seen strides in his game this spring.
He can play in space and uses his ability, cover a lot of grass, and plays man technique, all those types of things. And he's had a really good start.
With number 5 focused on one position next season, look for Bowman to elevate his game and continue to make an impact for the Sooners on the defensive side of the ball. Ben Thomas, OUTV Sports.
Now we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, a Sooner legend will see his statue unveiled in Heisman Park. We'll discuss up next. Baker Mayfield was a star as quarterback at Oklahoma, winning the Heisman after his 2017 season. Now he's back to see his statue unveiled in Heisman Park. What are some of Baker's best moments?
Oh gosh, I think Baker's whole existence at OU was probably his best moment. He's truly an OU legend. I love Baker so much. He is the definition of what it means to be like a Sooner to me.
Well, and something that I hated was that I never got to see Baker play in person You know, he was gone by the time any of us came to OU, and I would have loved to be able to see him play. When I was still deciding if I was going to come to OU, he was a big thing to watch. You know, he created all that excitement, especially his senior year of Oklahoma football.
Well, the best memory has to be when they beat Ohio State and he planted the flag in the middle of the O. Yeah, but Baker was incredible. He saw the field really well, and he knew how to get out to his playmakers. You know, he was such an intelligent quarterback.
Absolutely.
And that Sooner pride runs deep. Okay, at halftime of the spring game, Mayfield's statue will be unveiled. Colby Terrell tells us about this iconic moment.
Spring is in the air and OU football is right around the corner. And with the spring game coming, OU's darling is back in town.
Mayfield, he's going to launch it downfield, wants every bit of it. And into the hands of Jeff Badette.
Baker Mayfield is finally getting his statue. So we went to the South Oval to find out how students want to immortalize the Heisman winner.
I like the typical 1 foot leans, throwing it back kind of deal. So
I really like that Heisman pose. I mean, classic, but I think it does the job.
I think it should be the Heisman pose, just like this. Yeah.
Some people want to keep it classic, but on the other hand, there's one Baker moment no one will ever forget, even if they may need a little reminder on his opponent.
I think also him, putting the flag down in the middle of KU's football stadium.
I think it should be him putting the flag in the ground at the OU-Texas game.
Ooh, definitely. I would go with the plant the flag.
Now, we don't yet know what Baker's bronze bust will look like, but with all his iconic moves, we can be sure it'll be a sight to see. Colby Terrell, OU Nightly Sports.
From a past Sooner great to the future of OU football, what are you looking forward to seeing this season from the Sooners, Kaylee?
I think the player I'm most excited to see this season will have to be Marvin Mims. He had a great season last season. You know, he didn't have as much performance as I thought he would. There's some games that he really stood out, and then other games he just didn't even see the ball. But, I talked about the offense a lot, and I'm going to continue because Marvin Mims was definitely a key player. Marvin Mims, Kennedy Brooks, and I think Dillon Gabriel is going to be able to really utilize him, and I want to see this wide receiver game way more than there was last year. The offensive line also hopefully will allow Gabriel to sit in the pocket a little bit more and be able to get those balls to Mims because he can catch them. I mean, we saw it at the OU-Texas game. You saw it in the Alamo Bowl. He can do it.
Kaylee, I completely agree with you. I love Marvin Mims. He is definitely one of my favorite players, and he didn't get the ball as much in some games last year, and it wasn't his fault. A lot of teams did figure out double coverage and things like that, but I'm really hoping that we get to see more from him this season. So moving more to the defensive side, I was talking about our secondary earlier, and someone that I really want to see do big things this season is Justin Broyles. Justin Broyles is someone who I was talking about who had that grit last season, but I need more consistency. Last season, he did total 55 tackles, 25 of those being solos, so he's got it. But I want to see this happening every single game. I also want to see more interceptions from him. He had 2 last season, and one of those turned into a touchdown for him. He has the speed, he has the energy, he has the strength. We just need that consistency. I think that's my word for this defense. It's consistency, 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 because they have the talent. And Justin Broyles has the talent, and I want to see him go out there and do huge things this season.
I'm looking forward to see one of the hosts of the podcast on the Prairie, Braden Willis. He's a 5th-year senior. Jeremiah Hall's gone. Austin Stockner's gone. It's time for him to step up and be that guy. Okay, the only other tight ends, halfbacks in the room are Daniel Parker, and he had 12 catches last year at Mizzou, and Caden Helps and Jason Lewin are true freshmen. So it's time for Braden Willis to step up, step out. This is his time to shine. He's been waiting for this. He's a 5th-year senior, so I think that he's the leader in that tight end halfback room. I'm really excited to see what he has for us this season.
And Willis is another guy that I've been hearing great things about this season,
me
just
too.
being a leader and really coming into his own on this Sooner football team. And I'm just going to say it, I'm so glad there's no more Speed D, you guys. That's what I'm looking forward to this season, is a Brent Venables defense, and that defense wins championships, in my opinion, not offense. It's fun to watch offense, but defense is going to win you those championships. Venables said it in his introductory presser. He's going to foster that suffocating defense. The prior defensive regime left countless mistakes and breathing room for the opponent. I touched on how the players have brought it and seen a noticeable difference in defense. And Venables is about to bring this defense and this whole entire team to the next level. And I think it's really fun because we have seen such high-flying offenses at Oklahoma to see how a defense is going to be. And that's not to say that offense is going away by any means. We've got Jeff Lebby, who dominated at Ole Miss, with Dylan Gabriel, who we know he has a relationship with. So it's going to be a great combination for sure.
I completely agree. You love that defense.
I
You're
do.
ready to see that defense, Ashley.
My dad was a defensive coach in college, so
Well,
that's
there
what
you
I've
go.
grown up around. I always hear about the defense. So now for one of the most looming questions. How do you expect the Sooners to finish off the season, Kaylee?
I think the craziest part about this season is you don't know how this team's going to look on the field. You don't know how these coaches are going to work together. I think everyone's really excited and think it's going to be a great team and they're going to have a great season. But, you know, it's going to be a really fresh season. Last season, the team coming in, you had the same coaches, you had a lot of the same players, but it's going to be a completely new team, a lot of transfers, a lot of new coaches. So I think the Sooners are probably going to go 11-1, going to have them lose to Baylor in the first game and then go to the Big 12 championship and beat Baylor that second time. You know, Baylor has that strong defense with Dave Aranda, and OU saw that last season. That was probably OU's worst game of the entire season. But this new strong defense, I think, is going to be a great match. If Jerry Bohannon can chuck that ball, he's going to be the senior of the team. I think Baylor's going to be great, you know, so I think that's going to be their hardest and toughest opponent.
Kaylee, I have to completely agree with everything that you said. I think that we are probably going to lose to Baylor. Baylor seems to be that team that OU just really struggles with year after year. Whether we beat them or not, they definitely struggle against them. However, I think that with that 11-1 Big 12 championship, that the Sooners are going to make a playoff run. I think that having a new team this year is actually going to be the biggest positive for the Sooners. I think bringing in a whole new coaching staff, all these new players, the energy, we've talked about the energy all day. I think that that is going to lead them to a playoff run, and they are going to set the precedent early that OU is not going anywhere just because there's a new staff, just because there's a new team. The Sooners are here to stay.
I agree that the Sooners probably will go 11-1, but I think the game they may slip up on is the Texas game, okay? They have Quinn Ewers, they have Steve Sarkisian, they have Bijan Robinson. This Texas team is pretty good, and it's also hard to say just because we haven't seen this Venables, Jeff Lebby team yet. So I just don't really know what to expect yet, but I do think that they still will win 11 games. I think they will win the Big 12 championship, and I think that they'll go to a New Year's Six Bowl.
Here's my thing about Sarkisian is everyone's hyping him up, but they did have that 5-7 record last season, didn't they?
They did. I'm not a Longhorn fan.
We've got Quinn Ewers now, though. But with Bijan, it's the second year. He's got to prove something. And to me, the Cotton Bowl, you never know what can happen.
You never know. Texas
that
could
is
be
a good
having
point.
the worst record ever, but they always show up and give Oklahoma a run for their money.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that game plays out.
That really is always the biggest game for both of those teams. It's just that deep-rooted rivalry
the
that they
rivalry
take
game.
it so seriously, and everyone shows up for that
A
game.
rivalry game's always different than a regular game, so my dad always tells me, no matter how good they are.
I hope the game was as good as last season's.
And my take is really similar to Carly's. I think Texas is going to be the game they struggle in. I would have been more iffy about Baylor and Oklahoma State if it hadn't been for those games being at home. And I think that's going to make a difference is that they're in the Palace, so you have that home field advantage. But, I think Texas with Quinn Ewers, Bijan Robinson, it is Sark's second year of that Cotton Bowl atmosphere. Little iffy. I got him 11-1, Big 12 championship, New Year's Six Bowl. So that's what I've got. Thank you for tuning in to the GameDayU Spring Special. We can't wait to be back in the fall for some football. For Kaylee Tinglestad, Maddie D'Addario, and Carly Murray, I'm Ashley Van de Velde. Enjoy your spring game Saturday.